I have the honor of introducing a woman who survived in deep space, the zombie apocalypse, and even the icy grip of death itself. She first gained notoriety by joining the cast of The Days of Our Lives, and has since then moved on to appear in a variety of film and television, such as two Pink Panther films, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, and is, of course, most well known for her role as Lieutenant Tasha Yar on Star Trek: The Next Generation. She moved on after that to produce a fan-focused documentary, Trekkies, and then Trekkies 2. And since then, has had roles in X-Files, JAG, and has made a 3-episode appearance as a townsmember of the oh-so-welcoming town of refuge of Terminus, of Terminus on The Walking Dead. Please put your hands together for Denise Crosby.
Guys. Hello. Morning. Sunday morning. Sunday. I must have the sinners, huh? This is better than church. Come on. We can do our own church. And I don't mean Church the cat.
Oh, that's right.
Very inside joke. You guys got it?
Yeah.
For those of you who did not get that, Church was the name of the cat in Pet Sematary. All righty, we've got an Andorian. That is awesome.
Thanks.
I love Andorians. So Chris,
Yes.
what's going on, kid?
We're going to open it up to audience questions. So if anyone has any questions, please just raise your hand and Denise will call on you.
Yeah, we can just, feel free to see if we can get the coffee to kick in.
Yeah.
I'm with you though. Forgive me, I've got these Ricolas here. Ricola. I'm fighting this nasty little thing here.
You know, that's been going around.
Yeah?
I had to get some Halls this morning because I woke up and I
Yeah.
felt like Julian Richings.
Julian. Okay, I saw a hand, yes.
So what are you doing lately?
What am I doing lately? So, I have been, I was up in Vancouver shooting on a new series that's coming in January on Sci-Fi called The Magicians. And it's based on a trilogy of 3 books called The Magicians by Liev Grossman and written by John McNamara, who I saw his film last night, Trumbo, that Bryan Cranston stars as Dalton Trumbo. So it's got an incredible, interesting cast. It's about a magic school, a very mystical magic school, but it takes place today. So it's sort of like Harry Potter meets the Breakfast Club. It's like 6 or 7 really great young actors who are plucked from their worlds and put into this magic school to learn real magic, life magic. And I play a character named Genji, who is a master magician, and then the aunt of one of the main leads. So I mentor her in this school of magic, and we come from a long line of magicians. So it was really, really fun. And I think the series, it's going to be really good. It looks really good.
When will we see that?
I believe in January it comes on Sci-Fi, so fingers crossed. And then I just did an episode of Scandal that was on. That was fun, very different. I hadn't done like a network kind of episodic guest part in a while, and I must say, to be part of Shonda Rhimes' world is quite amazing. She's quite the prolific television producer, and Kerry Washington was delightful, I must say, lovely. Tomorrow I start a movie, a psychological thriller, a little indie film called Raven's Watch. So the cool thing about that is, this is good, John Billingsley is going to play a part in it as well. So we have 2 Trek alum in this film. And I get to well, let's see, who else is in the cast that you guys may know? I can't say, I haven't met the two leads yet. I think one of the guys was in Twilight, though. He's an African-American, played, I guess, the African-American vampire in Twilight. Alex. I'm not a Twilight.
Neither am I.
You guys must know what Twilight, right?
But we can Google it.
I think we know what Twilight is.
You know what Twilight is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's the glittering vampire movie. I watched it and was with my son, who was 17, and we went, you gotta be kidding.
Exactly.
Like they're glittering, and no one notices this? They have like sparkles on their face. Oh, it's hysterical. And like they walk into the high school cafeteria, and like everyone, no one says a thing. Like, wouldn't you go like, who are those freaks with glitter on their faces? I don't know. What can I tell you?
The author lives here.
Who lives here?
Stephanie Meyer. She lives
Oh,
here in
yeah.
town.
She lives in Glendale?
Well, Paradise Valley now, but yeah.
Paradise Valley, wow. I love Arizona. I come here quite a bit, actually. My son's a baseball player, so he is in high school right now. But we come here, I'm coming to Mesa in January, to the Chicago Cubs facilities. He's in the big preseason All-American tournament there.
Cool.
And then I come every June to the USA Baseball Championships in Glendale and Peoria. And you can usually find me at the Wigwam Hotel in Litchfield Park. So feel free, I'm there for 9 to 10 days in my air-conditioned room because I'm fighting heat stroke. God, I don't know how you're gonna...
Yeah.
Right? I mean, but those guys are playing baseball in this. There are 3 games a day, 8 a.m., 11 a.m., and 2 p.m.
But it's a dry heat.
It's a dry, that sun doesn't care if it's wet or dry, okay? Let me just tell you that. I felt like a piece of baked leather when I left. Yeah, it's good. So, any more, let's talk. Yes.
It's great to have you here solo. We loved having the whole cast here a couple years back for the anniversary and seeing you in Salt Lake and of course Las Vegas.
Oh, great.
Are Marina and Gates really that crazy and fun? You have so much fun on stage. Does that go on behind the scenes as well?
Well, we don't, you know, the conventions are when we have affords us the opportunity to see each other. You know, our lives are so all over the place and different. You know, I'm raising my son and I'm with my husband. Now Gates and I cross paths more often because we're both members of the same theater company. Yes. So the Ensemble Studio Theater, which she was the artistic director of until a year ago. So she's actually directed me in some theater pieces there at the theater. So we'll see each other more often, but yes, it's a wonderful time for us, and everybody has such a wicked sense of humor, and you know, it was developed over time, and I'm spending enormously long days together on the set of Star Trek. I mean, if you don't keep each other entertained, or you know, do it with a sense of humor, you're lost, because it was very, very long those days. And again, I mean, I think about that now. When we did Star Trek, we did 26 episodes a season. Now, normally now, you do 13 episodes a season. So you can imagine that was double the workload. So you had very little time off before you started the next season. So it's really, you had to make each other laugh. Yes?
Is Bing Crosby your uncle or grandpa?
Bing Crosby is my grandfather. And so we're entering Bing Crosby land this month, aren't we? You know?
Favorite movie?
Oh, beautiful. I mean, he really is so identified with Christmas. I just watched one of my favorite clips is the little drummer boy he does with David Bowie.
Yes.
It's just so good. And somebody sent it to me the other day, and I hadn't watched it in a long time. Have you ever seen that clip? Oh my God. But you know,
It
it,
originally aired, actually, even, so.
yes, me too. And I remember, well, go back and watch it right now, because I had forgotten that, you know, they sing, they start out singing, you know, the traditional Little Drummer Boy. And then Bowie goes off on this, this riff about peace on earth, and will we ever be able to promise our children? Can I make that promise to my child? And your child too. Can we have peace on earth? If it's not the most fitting time to hear this song, it was incredible. And so it was, anyway, kind of,
You're making me cry too.
It's touching.
you make me cry. Christmas, it's beautiful this time of year.
Yes.
Oh, great. Oh, great. Talking about my grandfather, okay. I'm not gonna cry. Make me laugh, please.
I'll try to make you smile about something. So, I know that a lot of actors and actresses try to put some of themselves in every character that they play. So, or I mean, sometimes, maybe not. Of the three characters that you played, and by three I mean Tasha Yar and the alternate Tasha Yar who came back in yesterday's Enterprise, and Sela, which one of those is the closest to you?
Wow. That's a good one. So, I think Tasha was very personal to me, you know, because she really was about overcoming obstacles. And she was a fighter, you know, and she was so determined to be the best that she possibly could be. But inside of her too, there was a lot of vulnerability. And I always talk about this one scene that was my audition, actually, for Tasha Yar. That was never filmed. And it's a shame. I don't know why this scene was never included in the series. But it was a scene that brought Tasha into Counselor Troy for a meeting, because Tasha was really struggling with her belief that she was that she was entitled to this position on the bridge. She had a lot of self-doubt, and she comes to Counselor Troy and she said, "I just don't think I'm the one to be doing this job. I don't think I'm good enough. I think Captain Picard is so incredible, and he deserves the best chief of security. And I just don't think, I don't think I'm up to it." And Counselor Troy says, Tasha, what are you talking about? Of course you are. He wouldn't choose you to lead this mission if you weren't qualified and didn't deserve it. You have every right to be here. She goes, but I don't know, Captain Picard is like almost too perfect. And Deanna starts to talk to her and said, Tasha, you know nobody's perfect. And you are as good as it gets. Now, let me ask you this. What have you been doing for fun? And Tasha is like, what do you mean fun? I mean, what do you do when you're not on the bridge? Do you go and have it, you know, see friends? Do you go to the holodeck? I mean, what do you do? She goes, well, no, I mean, I can't have, you know, I'm not thinking about fun, and I'm really worried about, am I going to be good enough on this ship and do the right thing? She said, okay, that's the problem right there. You need to go to the bar and have a drink and actually, like, get together with a guy. And Tasha's like, what? She says, trust me, you'll feel a lot better. It was this great scene. And that was my audition. And what it did, though, was it gave me a clue as to who this woman was. So that was the basis of Tasha Yar. she was all sass and power and strength, and she was this, part of her was this very frightened little girl inside. And that gave me something interesting to play as an actor. Because it's kind of boring to just go, you know, hey, I'm perfect, I'm flawless, I can kick your butt and do it, you know, better than anyone. But what makes it more interesting are the layers. Mm-hmm.
That's very awesome.
Good, and you dried up my tears. That took me by surprise.
I just had a question. The scene with Tasha Yar and Data, that you had that one outfit, you were very exposed. How did that make you feel when you saw the outfit?
That's a really, I'm really glad you asked that question. She was asking about the naked now. And that outfit, right, was very revealing and very exposed. And that's a really interesting question, because you do feel exposed, and you do kind of feel a little objectified in a way. And I was, you know, it was very much part of the story, and I got, you know, the intention of the, and it, in hindsight, I mean, it works beautifully. It's so wonderful, that scene, and, you know, just Brent's face is just hysterical, you know. I had to keep, I said, don't even look at me when we do the scene, because I couldn't keep a straight face. I mean, he looked like, he reminded me of Pinocchio. And when I, okay, so I get dressed in that outfit in my dressing room, and it is really like one sneeze and it's over, you know. And so I've got a robe, a terry cloth robe around me to walk, you know, to the set. So I get to the set. Now, I'm the only woman on the set. The crew is all male.
Oh, jeez.
I'm working only with Brent. The director is male. And I know that I've got to take this thing, this robe off, and stand there, and I've got to own it, you know. I can't, there's definitely, Tasha Yar's not apologizing, you know, for the way she looks. But me as Denise, I'm feeling, you know, pretty vulnerable. So again, you know, that's when your acting comes in. I got this. But, you know, you feel exposed, no doubt about it.
But you look good in the outfit, though.
Well, thank you, my God. That was, you know, I was before children, I like to say. Yes?
So something that's been bugging me for a long time, because I think most of us know that you and Marina actually auditioned for the opposite roles initially.
Mm-hmm.
When you got cast the other way around, was that weird for either of you? Like at least initially, like you're thinking like, well, I had auditioned for Counselor Troy, but now I'm playing this other character. Like, so I just wondered
How that evolved.
Yeah.
You know, so the first initial auditions, or the talk to, you know, the approach for the new Star Trek, was very, excuse me, it was very mysterious. We were given no scripts. It was very secretive. Now, it's funny because now so much is done that way, you know, but back then it was kind of a novelty. And they gave us nothing to go on. You know, I got this thing that described Counselor Troy. You know, she was a Beta Z, and she was a counselor, and she was an empath. And I'm going, well, what's a Beta Z? She's from Betazoid. Well, yeah. Well, what does that mean? Well, just think of it, maybe Iceland. Okay, well, you know, because you can't, you know, you've got to wrap your head into something. So it was all out there. So by the time they flipped us, we were just making it up anyway, you know? It didn't matter. I mean, I could have played Data for all that matter, you know? It would have been the same if, you know, we were just trying to find something to kind of, you know, give us a hook into it. And then once we were cast, you know, in the roles, we ran with it. You know, it was now about who and what. And fortunately, we had Gene Roddenberry still with us, so and he was always available to ask questions, and he was, you know, he gave us just a huge reign to do whatever we wanted and make this ours. So it worked out. Yes, I think there was a, yes.
Yes, knowing the other director, the episode's going to be, was that a surprise, or was there a long story arc thing that's the end of the arc?
Tell me,
On the Skin of Evil?
on the Skin of Evil? Oh.
Did you know ahead of time, or did they discuss this?
No. What precipitated that was, so towards the about, you know, the 2/3 of the season had gone by. And again, the first season of The Next Gen, the writing was not great. There was some good writing. There was a lot of like shaky writing. And if you go back and look at that first season, I mean, some of those episodes, you know, are just like, what were they thinking? My favorite one is like Code of Honor,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
It's just, wow, how did that thing get on the air? I just don't think anybody was paying attention. But, so, you know, and that's forgivable. I mean, it takes some time. It's very hard to write for Star Trek, as you know, and that's going to be the make or break thing if they're going to make a new series. I mean, they've got to get, you know, somebody like a Michael Piller. You've got to find a new Michael Piller to come in and really understand this concept. So I was getting very frustrated and very worried that, you know, I'm going to be on the bridge having absolutely nothing to say except once in a while saying, aye, aye, Captain. And that's okay for like one show. But I was under the impression that there were going to be multiple storylines going. We have a big cast. And so I started asking questions to the writers. They didn't really want us talking to the writers too much. And I had to kind of make a decision. Is this what I dreamed of? Is this what I wanted to do as an actor? And it was my decision to leave at the end of the first season. And it wasn't, you know, it wasn't predicated on anything, any anger or any disconnect with the cast, or it was just simply a creative idea that, you know, I had gone to acting school. I was still taking, you know, I still had dreams of what I wanted to do as an actor. And so nobody wanted me to go, but Gene, eventually I sat down with Gene, and Gene Roddenberry totally got where I was coming from. And he said, I don't want you to go, but I understand your desire. I once was a young, ambitious, hungry writer, and I get it. I would be lying to you if I told you it was going to change, that it was going to get any better. So I'm gonna let, because he was the only one that could have let me go. You know, I had a contract. And so he said, what I'd like to do though is have this character die. That it would, he goes, that kind of breaks my heart because then you won't be able to come back. Well, that didn't pan out. But, you know, he said, but I think it'll be so strong of a send-off. And because I've never done that before. And I said, okay, great. And that's how then Skin of Evil was written shortly after that. Yeah, because they didn't, you know. As a matter of fact, truth be told, what was going to happen was they were going to let Marina go at the end of the first season. And they let Gates go. So I essentially was going to be the only one. And then I left. And then they were like, oh God, okay, now what do we do? So it changed. And that's from Marina telling me. I did not know that. So, life is strange, isn't it?
It is.
But it all kind of, I mean, then yesterday's Enterprise was written, which to me is one of the great episodes of Next Gen, right? And that opened the door for all kinds of possibilities of Sela and everything. And Sela's still ghosts. Sela's still out there. She's the Empress of Romulus. Yes.
So along those same lines, did they come to you to reprise for yesterday's Enterprise and Sela? Were you excited to come back? I mean, Sela and in yesterday's Enterprise, Tasha had much more dialogue. They were much more involved than, like you were saying, Tasha was portrayed in the first season. So was that your decision? Were you really excited to come back and do that? Or?
I was. I mean, when I got a call that there was a script written called Yesterday's Enterprise, and which allowed Tasha was alive again. I went, what? Ooh, it's not going to be one of those, it was a dream in the shower sequences. And they said, no. I'm going to send you, this was Rick Berman, the exec producer. He said, I'm going to send you the script, and I think you're going to love it. And he was right. When I read it, I went, oh my God, this is great. And I couldn't wait to get back on, for a number of reasons, First of all, the script was so good. But I had not had the chance to work with Whoopi. And, she came in after. And then Christopher McDonald, who played Lieutenant Castillo on that. He and I, oh my God, it was such good chemistry. We laughed so much that, they had to almost, separate us. Like when you're in elementary school. Because we ended up laughing and wrecking, takes, with that we weren't even in. We were in the background. I'll tell you one exactly. So Patrick has this big, long monologue with the captain of the Enterprise C. And they're discussing, and I mean, it's it's a page of dialogue. And it's all very technical. And Patrick's a Shakespearean serious actor, and he's in the foreground of the shot, and it's on him. And Chris and I are laying in the back of the ship, working on the panels, we're fixing something. So Patrick's doing his speech. And it's one of those things, please don't look at me, please don't look at me. And I catch his eye, and I just go, and then I fake a coughing fit. And Chris covers for me and goes, oh God, I'm so, can somebody get her some water? And I'm going, oh Patrick, I'm so sorry. And he goes, oh, what, are you okay? And I said, faking this total cough and, meantime, peeing my uniform in laughter. And it was bad. And so Chris and I subsequently played husband and wife in a movie, an indie film called Divorce, a contemporary Western. And we then, I did a guest shot on one of his series he did for CBS. He was playing a lawyer on a CBS series. That's not fake. Sorry. So, yeah, we had a great time with that. But I think I veered off with your question. You were asking about...
Yeah, just if it was your idea to come back, and then how excited you were to come back both for yesterday's Enterprise and later in Redemption, or whichever one it is with Sela.
Right, so I loved coming back, as I said. And yesterday's Enterprise opened the door for me thinking about Sela, and I'm the one who came up with the idea of Sela.
Okay.
Because what my original idea was that Yar, and Sela would be Yar and Castillo's child.
Okay.
So that's the idea I pitched, that when the both of them went back on the Enterprise C to fight the Romulan battle, the Romulans, captured the ship. Everyone was killed. They kept Tasha Yar alive, though, because she was pregnant. and they wanted to raise a human baby to use as a chip, like a bartering chip with the Federation. And do you remember the film Dances with Wolves? So that had just been out. So remember Mary McDonnell's character was basically raised Native American, so she thought and acted Native American, but she was in fact not. So that was my idea, that this human baby would grow up Romulan. Think like a Romulan, act like a Romulan, be a Romulan, and in fact not be at all. And her dilemma, the story arc would be that she would eventually find out about her mother and be maybe perhaps a bridge to peace with the Romulans. So that's what I pitched to Rick Berman. And he kind of went, interesting. Let me think about it, and I'll get back to you. So I thought, okay, well, you know, typical Hollywood. You never hear from him again. And then he called me up like months later and he said, you know, we're going to go with that idea, but we're going to change it a little bit. So that Tasha was, you know, captured by a Romulan general and has a child. So the child is half Romulan, and you're going to play that daughter. So you're going to play your own daughter. I thought, wow, cool. I'm maybe the only actress that can say I played my own daughter. And actually, if you count the fan film I did, you know, James Crawley's fan film stuff, I played Yar's grandmother.
Wow. The whole lineage.
I'm just gonna keep going, you know? Weird.
You also voice acted for the characters too in Star Trek Online, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yar was back a little bit, and yeah, Sela is, you know, running the universe out there. Yes.
Well, changing gears just a little bit, how fun was it to play someone that was pretty evil and a little crazy on Walking Dead and things?
She wasn't really evil. She was trying to survive.
Yeah.
It was a really great, fun show to work on. You know, in all honesty, I had never seen an episode of The Walking Dead when I got the part. And talk about secretive. They gave me a scene to do as an audition that was written specifically for me to do. It had absolutely nothing to do with The Walking Dead. It was about a woman who goes in to buy a modified car for her recently, her husband has recently been in a car accident, so she needs a van that's modified. And she goes to a mutual family friend to buy this, to get a deal. And the guy goes, you know, Sandy, I really wish I could help you, man, but this is the best I can do. This is the best price I've got. And she goes, well, you know, Bob, I don't know. I know you guys have a couple numbers. You know, you got the public numbers and you've got the, you know, other numbers. And I'd really like you to do a little bit better. She goes, Sandy, you know, I love you and I would do anything for you guys, and that's the best I got. That's the best I can get. And she says, well, Bob, maybe your wife, Linda, would like me to tell her about that little outing I saw you do last weekend with, you know, Catherine. Caught you at the Motel 6 last weekend. Want me to go there? He goes, I'll be right back. This was my audition. And so, okay, so I get the job. So I go to Atlanta, and I still don't know anything. One thing they say is, would you want to wear a wig? I said, sure, yeah. So I go and get a wig fitting out in Los Angeles in the Valley, and they ship the wig to Atlanta, and they okay it. So I arrive in Atlanta. I still haven't seen a script. I don't know what this role is. So it's like the day before I begin shooting, the show producer, Scott Gimple, I said to him, I think you and I should talk. What is this thing called Terminus? What are we doing? So he kind of filled me in, but they are very, very, very secretive because they need to be. All these leaks. I mean, when you go to the set in Atlanta, well, they're shooting in Terminus happened to actually be in Atlanta. They have studios in Sonoya, outside of Atlanta. Fans are lining up on the highway because they know, The Walking Dead is there filming, and they're looking to see who's being transported to the set, because then they go, well, wait a minute, Maggie is coming with Carol and Daryl, so that means Maggie, Carol, and Daryl are working, so that must mean this is going on, and they go on the internet. And so when I was being transported in the van from the set of Terminus to like where they made lunch, I was with Melissa McBride, and she's like pushing my head down in the van and putting a tarp over me. And she goes, duck, duck, there's fans. And I'm like this in the car. I'm going, are you kidding me? And she goes, you have to do it, you have to do it. We can't be seen.
My gosh.
I go, wow, man, this is intense. This is crazy. But all really good people. Lovely, lovely good people. They just sent me, very generous, they just sent me some stuff. My son, like I told you, he's a baseball player, so his team has an annual dinner, like a silent auction, so they sent me a bunch of stuff so I could put in the silent auction. And of course it's sold, There's this one kid on his team that's a huge Walking Dead fan, so he gets his dad to buy everything. All good people. Andrew Lincoln, it starts, I always say it starts at the top, what's the old saying, the fish, what is it? The fish stinks from the head down. Yeah, some weird thing like that. Not that I'm calling Andrew Lincoln a dead fish, but he's so lovely. He is just such a class act guy that, it sets the tone. It just sets the tone. Nobody, as a matter of fact, when I got there, they said, this is what we call a no asshole zone. You can't be a jerk and be on The Walking Dead. No, not allowed. Yes?
So Patrick Stewart is doing Blunt Talk, which is completely different from anything he's done before. What would you like to do? Is there anything that you would like to do that's completely different from what you've done in the past?
Wow. I would like to do some comedy. Just some just crazy kind of, I don't know, kind of like The Office or something like that. Like a kind of a modern comedy. I've done comedy, but people, you get sort of pigeonholed and stuff, I've worked with John Ritter a couple times and Blake Edwards and some of his movies, and I really like to do some comedy. So I'm always looking for that. Probably somebody will just have to get me, and they'll give it to me, like someone I know who's working on something, Yes.
I'm out of Kleenex, I apologize. Can you talk a little bit about unification and working with Leonard Nimoy?
Oh, Leonard. Oh, what a...
Sorry, I'm out of Kleenex.
The tissue. Don't make me cry again. No. Leonard was just such a lovely man, and what a blessing I was able to do that. That I never thought that would happen, And of course, I also got to sit with Leonard for my Trekkies documentary, and he was so generous with his time and open, and spent hours with us, and there was no questions barred, and he was just a lovely, intelligent, kind man, and what an iconic figure. I know when Brent and I were doing when we were working together on that episode with Leonard, we were like pinching ourselves, going, "This is Spock." how cool is this, you know? So he was, I feel lucky. You know, and as I was recently talking about Trekkies because this week will be my first attempt now to, I have a phone call set up with Paramount on Wednesday to begin the possibility of making Trekkies 3, which will be my, you know, final third. Oh, you guys, thank you so much. Listen, you know, Star Trek and the fans have the most unique relationship in all of television history. And it's the granddaddy of them all. I mean, Star Trek started this whole Comicon, fandom, fan conventions. What we see now, what I've seen change in 27 years that I've been doing this, it's huge. So I really want to try to do that. But what I was thinking about was, you know, I have footage of interviews with DeForest Kelley, Leonard, Jimmy Doohan, that I didn't use in Trekkies. I just have it in my vault. I couldn't fit everything in. So what I'd like to do now is make, you know, a new version. I'd like to, you know, I'd like to make the copy, you know, because Trekkies, if you look at Trekkies, we were scraping by on whatever film we could get. You know, I'd like to transfer it to a higher resolution and maybe put some extras now on some of those interviews that I have in the vault. And those are going to be some of my carrots I'm going to dangle for Paramount. Let's see if I get a bite.
That would be awesome.
I'll let you guys know.
Yes.
You'll know. Yes? Any more? Oh, good. Yes.
Where would you go during the zombie apocalypse?
Wow. Well, I'd probably like to get on the Enterprise. Warp speed. I'd be out of here. Boy, I don't know. God only hopes that doesn't happen. Not pretty. Yes.
You had a part in a terrific movie called Deep Impact. Which was a very philosophical movie into the disaster that came out at the same time as Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think Deep Impact would have been a bigger movie if it had come out around the same time? And how does the studio put out 2 asteroid movies at the same time?
Good question. It's kind of the idiocy of Hollywood at times. I remember being on the set of Deep Impact and us getting word that Michael Bay was going to make Armageddon, and we were going, really? Wow, how do they both okay this at the same time? And it was totally out of our control, but 2 very different movies, quite different. That was just one of the better experiences I've had working. I mean, it was incredible. First of all, I got to meet one of my idols, why I became an actress, was Vanessa Redgrave. And she was extraordinary in everything I imagined and more that she would be. Very down to earth, very real. And that scene that we shot, in which I give the baby to my daughter to take off and survive, was absolutely one of the most incredible film scenes I have ever participated in. That was 2,000 cars were on the streets on that highway in Manassas, Virginia, in the summer. And 3,000 extras. That was no CGI. That was 3,000 cars. And the way they were communicating was the assistant directors, you would turn to an AM frequency on your car radio. And that's how they communicated. And when I was brought to the set, I was staying in DC across the bridge, and brought to the set that morning in the van. I'll never forget, I went, oh my God. It was a sea of cars. And they just put out a notice, if anyone wants to be in a movie, you could use your car. And it was incredible, but 7 people ended up going to the hospital for heat stroke and dehydration. I mean, I'd like to see the count of water bottles that went through that day, those 2 days of filming. It was extraordinary. Yes?
Were you a Star Trek fan before TNG?
I was a Star Trek fan. My experience with the original was, I didn't watch it, when it first came on in the 60s. I was a little too young to get into it. But then when it went into, first run syndication, it played in LA every night at 5. And I was about 18, and I was renting, while going to school, a little guest house on an organic farm. And this man, Chico, from Chico, and his wife. And Chico was like an 85-year-old Italian immigrant. So that was our thing. Every night at 5, Chico, 85, me, 18, we would watch Star Trek together. And we saw every episode. And that was like our little thing to do. And I always had this like little glint in my eye, this twinkle, thinking, I always thought about Chico and how funny this would have been for him to see me, on the next gen. But yeah, I still love the classic Trek. There's nothing like it. I mean, it just gets, better and better to watch. Yes?
What's it like knowing that Star Trek has driven so much of our current technology, like cell phones and tablets?
It's extraordinary. What, he was asking about, what's it like, or what do I feel about the modern technology, all the design, so modeled from Star Trek. It makes sense because, we've all grown up, all the designers, all the tech people, have grown up watching Star Trek. So that's what's in their imagination. And it's like, can we make this real? So it makes perfect sense.
Like in the next generation, they're always walking around, and it's just plastic then, the little tablet computers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the iPads, right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You've done so much in TV and films. Did the stage or plays ever interest you?
Oh, I love theater. Yeah, I mean, that's where I first began. And, I always try to continue to go back to plays. The last play I did, I was telling my friend Carol about it, that Gates McFadden directed me in, called House of Gold, and it was just a riveting piece on a look at the JonBenet Ramsey abduction and murder, and what stirs up in us as a culture and a society, and how we push our kids and how they grow up too fast, and what do we want from them, and what do we expect them to do for us. And it was just extraordinary. I can't imagine being an actor and not do theater, because that's where you really live and breathe as an actor. Film is really a director's medium, and television tends to be a writer's. Right now, television, I mean, some of the best writing is being done, cable TV, but to be able to enter a theater and have a live, first of all, have a live audience that you're affecting. You can feel it, you know? I mean, there's an energy transference when you're on stage. I mean, I can tell when I've got you, you know, in the grip of my palm, you know? There was one of my favorite stories was always something that the great actor Richard Burton commented on. He was doing Camelot on Broadway. And there was a moment in one of the acts. It was a speech that he had, or it might have been a song that he delivered, and he was starring with Julie Andrews in that production, and he would walk in and tell Julie, "I think I'll make them cry tonight." And she went, "Okay." He would do the speech or the song, and the audience would be weeping. The next night, he said, "I think I'll make them laugh tonight." And he would deliver the same piece, and they would be laughing, falling out of their seats. She said he could control an audience like she had never seen somebody be able to do, just by delivery. And that's why actors, you know, you need to have the theater to understand that. Yeah. Yes?
Speaking of stage, is there a role that you, like, your dream role to be on a stage production? And as far as musicals, would you be interested in doing anything musical?
I'm hearing Chris mumble here. Yeah, there's a lot of great theater. I mean, there's not like that, you know, like men often speak of, you know, Lear. You know, you start out playing Romeo, and then you play Hamlet, and then you play Lear. You know, you have these three phases of stuff. There's just a lot of interesting new playwrights too, working, writing stuff in New York and London. And yeah, I think music is something I've just always been dabbling in, and you know, I sang in a little group called The Way Home when I was 14. It's like a sort of Christian coffee house group with Rita Wilson, actually. She and I were in the same group, and you know, she's married to Tom Hanks, and she's actually performing in LA a night of music. So she's still singing. And I've always kind of, you know, I studied classical flute and classical guitar, and I've twice now tried to study piano and abandoned it, but I still have my piano. It's in my little office, and one day I'm going to, you know, before I die, I'm going to play some Chopin. You know, that's my goal. But yeah, I'd like to do some musical stuff, you know, definitely. Yes?
Back to The Walking Dead. After you got to the set of Terminus and learned more about your role on The Walking Dead, what did you do to prepare for it? Did you create a backstory, or were you given a backstory?
I wasn't given much, so it was really, as a matter of fact, when you first see me in The Walking Dead, it's the end of season 4, and it ends very abruptly. So there's a big gap of time before we came back to it, because the season ends and take a break. I wasn't even told that I was Gareth's mother, but
Spoilers.
Oh, you guys.
I think there's more spoilers than that out there.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, so I said to the actor that plays Andrew, that plays Gareth, I said, I really think that I'm your mother. And he goes, yeah, okay. I mean, but we were just making this stuff up. You have to. You know, and you know, once you understand, I mean, it really, the intriguing thing to me about the stuff in The Walking Dead, again, are these moral issues, these moral dilemmas, like what would you do? You know, and you think you wouldn't, but what I've learned, you know, I don't know what people will and won't do. You know, I'm always surprised. Just when you think, oh, you know, I mean, even with raising my own kid, you know, before you have a kid, you go, I'm never going to do, they are never going to do that. They're never going to watch TV after this hour. They're never going to eat sugar all day long. They're never going to, and you go, boy, all those rules go right out the window as soon as you have a kid. And you just hope to do the best thing, and you know, but these absolutes in life, just, you know, until you walk in someone's shoes, I don't know.
I believe we have time for one more question.
Oh, great. I was too fast. I think we need to stay here longer.
Yeah.
Right?
Who was your childhood hero?
Wow. A good one to... Wow. Well, you know, I think I'd really... My mother and grandmother were really heroic to me. You know, my grandmother was a young girl with an 8th grade education living in a tiny little farm in Hillsborough, Kentucky. And her husband was killed in a car accident on the way home. And she had a 16-month-old child and a 6-week-old baby. And the lawyer in the town came and swindled her from her property, took her deed for her land. And she was able to take those 2 children with her mother and come to Dayton, Ohio, looking for work to feed her children. And that kind of stuff, to me, is heroic and real. And, you know, in the face of that, she held her head up high, and she was, she worked in a downtown office building in Dayton, Ohio, cleaning the offices until she retired at 70. And they loved her. They didn't want to see her go. And I think I get, that's why, you know, to make it circular here, so we go back to Tasha Yar. And I respond to that, you see. There's something, I identify with that. Even though my childhood was not my grandmother's, but it presented some challenges. My mother raised me as a single mom, even though my grandfather was from this illustrious, famous family, had absolutely nothing to do with me. And, you know, we had to overcome some serious obstacles. And that's what gives you character, you know? So thank you for that question. I would have to say my own grandmother and mother. No one more heroic than them.
That's a very good question to ask.
That was really fun. I'm like finally woken up. You took me on this whole emotional ride.
You've woken him back up.
I know we could. I'm sorry. Just come to my table.
Yeah.
We'll talk some more. And
What time will you be there? At your table?
I think now.
Now? Going there now?
I'm there now.
There now.
I'm gonna beam in. Exactly. You guys are great. I really enjoy it. You're smart. You're intelligent. You're warm, and I really enjoyed this Q&A. They're not all that way. It's that Arizona heat, man.
Thank you guys.